Me bro. Welcome to the Me Bro Sports Show. I'm Scott Meberg, the oldest bro.
I'm the middle bro, Kurt Meberg.
And I'm the youngest bro, Brett Meberg. We're three brothers chatting about sports and other stuff, and today we're talking about weeks 3 and 4 of the NFL season.
So today we wanted to start off just by doing a little bit of housekeeping and catch up. Thanks to some of our loyal listeners who did, in fact, reach out to us. Cole left us a comment on Spotify saying that JJ McCarthy and Spencer Rattler may only be good if they have Connor Stallions stealing signs for them. So we wanted to talk a little bit about sign stealing in sports. How much do you think sign stealing matters? How much did Connor Stallions stealing signs for Michigan and maybe for some teams against Tennessee to help Michigan into the playoffs? How much does that matter? Are you against sign stealing? Are you for sign stealing? We kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. So I first wanted to start it off by saying that I don't know how much sign stealing matters in most sports. I think that it can give you a slight advantage, but people who want to say that it gives you some massive advantage just are trying a little bit too hard to compensate for something else. In the situation of, for example, some people thinking that South Carolina may have had the signs against Tennessee in the game in 2022 that put Tennessee out of the playoff picture, whether or not South Carolina had the signs, they put a whooping on Tennessee. They won by, I believe it was 25 points, 63-38, and some of those were some late points. I don't think that stealing signs or not would have mattered too much. I know we have our resident Astros fan here. Scott can talk to you about the Astros sign stealing scandal and how he feels about that. But in general, my take on sign stealing is if your signs are not good enough that somebody can steal them from you, you probably need to have better signs or just change them more often. You know, I played baseball. You can change signs all the time. As a pitcher to a catcher, you can change whether it's first sign, second sign, last sign. You know, you can go up and down depending on how many outs there are. You can change what number it is. There's so many options for how you can change signs. Keep changing them. If you think for any reason somebody might be stealing signs, then change them up. You'll be okay. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've talked about being an Astros fan on the podcast yet. I've been a fan for over 20 years, more than 2/3 of my life. I did not know about the sign stealing in 2017 when they won the World Series, and I was thrilled at that moment. And the learning that they stole signs, learning that they were banging on it trash can, obviously did not take away the joy of that championship for me in the slightest bit. So I think I agree with you. If the signs can be stolen, if they're easy enough to steal, you deserved it. Like you didn't do enough to keep your signs secret. You didn't do enough to make your plays happen. I can talk a little bit more about the Connor Stallions aspect of this, but what do you think, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also kind of pro sign stealing. I will say Connor Stallions took it to like a next level degree. Like he was going on other teams' sidelines and like some of that's like okay, he was definitely going a little bit far. But just straight up like sign stealing, I think you should be able to record the other team's bench, and if you can pick up any sort of signs from them, great. I'm all for it. That's just good coaches making winning plays.
Yeah, again, I do think that maybe there is a little bit of a difference, and some people would argue for sure that there is a little bit of a difference when you include not just your own two eyes and you include the use of a video camera or something like that. I know that some people would argue that, but again, I kind of go back to the situation of you can change the signs all the time. So they may know what your signs are, in certain situations, but if you keep changing them every drive, it's going to be hard for them to know which set of signs you're on at which time. And I get that might be complicated and annoying to have to do, but I mean, you're playing a sport for millions and millions of dollars. Like you have to assume people are going to try to get any advantage they can.
Here's my thing about Connor Stallions stealing signs. Obviously, it seems like he was definitely doing it for Michigan, and that probably, I'm not going to say that it won them the national championship, but it certainly probably helped them in a few games along the way. The idea that he was stealing signs to keep Tennessee out of the playoffs because he just knew their signs so well that he was able to orchestrate this absolute domination, that seems ridiculous to me. If he knew Tennessee's signs that well, why wouldn't he want them in the playoffs so that he could play against them and that Michigan could dominate them? Why does that make any sense? Why does he want them to have Spencer Rattler have an awesome game in South Carolina? Like, it's just convoluted. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think Connor Stallions was stealing signs from Michigan and probably no one else. So Cole, yes, JJ McCarthy got helped. Spencer Rattler did it all on his own.
Yeah, I think like in the NFL, you'll always see this like a team like if the Eagles are facing the Cowboys will pick up some former Eagles pet practice squad player to maybe get like a little help in the upcoming game, and like I'm sure maybe it helps a little bit, but like NFL teams are always switching through their signs, so it doesn't really matter. I know I'm a receivers coach for a grade 8, 9 football team, and like even something we do, we have like numbers, we hold up like number cards for the plays, and something we'll do is just tell our quarterback, hey, for this next drive, just add 3 to the numbers. And so whatever we give out 19, it's you're actually running play 22, just add 3 or add 5. And so if we put up a number 19, just add 3. And like you could change that up every single drive. There's something you can do to change it to make it easy. So yeah, I think just be better.
Just
Don't
be better. I think that's good advice for everyone, really. I personally need to be a little bit better. And so I'm going to take a little bit of accountability here. Last week, I said some things about lefties. Kurt, why don't you play the clip?
Yeah, if anybody wants to hear exactly what Scott said, if you missed out, here's Scott.
I am sold out on these Dolphins team. I think the vibes are awful. McDaniel looks disheveled and panicky as the coach. Tyreek doesn't seem to like him. Tua is left-handed. I mean, what are we even doing here? Michael Penix would like a word. Left-handers just catching absolute strays right now. I mean, he's not right. I'm just saying, the man is not right. I know we have less than 10 podcast listeners, so the odds are pretty good. We have no lefties listen to this podcast, unless our grandpa is listening, but I don't think he can work Spotify.
Now, I then had one of our loyal lefty listeners reach out to me and say, "Hello, Kurt. I'm a big Me Bros listener. Please tell your brother left-handed people are hurt by his call-out. Lefty lives matter too." What do you have to say, Scott?
I am so grateful to you, loyal lefty listener. Thank you for listening so loyally. With whatever hand you choose to open your podcast app with, I appreciate it. I want to say that I'm sorry. Lefty lives do matter. However, lefty quarterbacks might not matter. I don't know if our listener is a football player. I am doubting that he's a quarterback. And if we do have any lefty quarterbacks listening to the show, please leave us a comment, send us an email, MeBros Sports Show. We'll give you the details. But I did some research, folks. Can you guys tell me when the last time a left-handed quarterback won a playoff game was?
Michael Vick won a playoff game in 2010. I would like to hope there's one more recent than that, but I'm not sure that there is.
My first thought was Byron Leftwich, but that would have been like mid-2000s.
January 8th, 2012. Tim Tebow led the Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Incredible comeback. We all watched that game
It was
together.
a great game. One
Great
of the first
game.
football games I
Very
really
fun.
remember watching.
We were all in Hawaii together watching that game, and we were losing our minds. We were Tebowing on surfboards and on top of mountains. We were going crazy for Tim Tebow. Unfortunately, Tim Tebow was not a very good football player. He flunked out of the NFL basically a year or so later, and since then, no lefty quarterback has won a playoff game. Tua got absolutely destroyed 2 years in a row. This past week, Tua threw one of the worst interceptions I have ever seen to lose the game for the Dolphins when they were competitive against the Bills, a team that nobody thought they would beat. And Michael Penix scored 0 points did not even get the Falcons into field goal range. I mean, they did miss 2 field goals, blah, 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 whatever. The Falcons were terrible. Michael Penix was terrible. They put in 40-year-old almost Kirk Cousins. Left-handed quarterbacks do not have it, and I am standing on that hill. I am dying on that mountain, at least until another one can win a playoff game.
Saying that Tua's interception was the worst ever. First of all, Tua himself has had worse. Second of all, Nathan Peterman played football, and that man could throw an interception like no other. That man was the GOAT of throwing interceptions.
I don't think it's one of the worst interceptions ever. I just, I'm being hyperbolic. Give me a break, man. It was a brutal interception that lost the game for the Dolphins.
I have proposed the idea that since a lot of minor football coaches don't want to flip their offenses from a right-hander to a left-handed quarterback, they often just will put the best athlete that's left-handed. They'll just throw them at running back. They'll throw them at tight end, wide receiver. And this has happened in minor football leagues throughout a long time, 30 years. And so left-handed quarterbacks just don't get the same opportunities. And people that can throw a ball left-handed are also probably more likely to play baseball because they are desperately wanted and desired in baseball to have a southpaw pitcher. So if you can throw a ball and you're left-handed, you're just more likely to play baseball based on minor football preferences for a righty quarterback.
There's a story about Steve Young, probably the greatest lefty quarterback of all time. His college coach did just what you said there. He didn't want to switch the offense around. He ended up taking out Steve Young and moving him to some other position, putting in the backup. And then in some practice or something, a new coach came in. I don't remember the details. But Steve Young was just like tossing the ball down the sidelines, and it was a bomb. And the coach said, "Who is that guy? We need him playing quarterback." And Steve Young got back in as quarterback. He was legendary. He led the 49ers to the Super Bowls, all that. We don't need to go into Steve Young's career. It happens. I mean, the ball is going to come off spinning the opposite direction for a lefty quarterback. It's going to be a weird spiral for players to look at, to catch. It's just a challenge. And football is a game with so many variables already, so many people on the field. I don't think coaches, I don't think players, I don't think anyone likes introducing weird variables, and lefties are a weird variable. Your lives matter, but you're not good quarterbacks.
I will say, to the credit of our loyal listener, he was a baseball player, not a football player. So maybe there is a little bit of credence to Brett's idea there, but I don't know. I agree. There really hasn't been a lot of lefty quarterbacks that have had success in the NFL, but it's also tough to compare because I don't know that there's been a ton of NFL quarterbacks in general that have been left-handed. So it's hard to say, which one is the bigger indicator. We do care about lefties here on the Me Bro Sports Show.
Michael Vick could toss a football. Watching him throw a football is a beautiful thing. You might even say he's a dog.
He could have also tossed a dog into a ring.
He never won a Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he wasn't really on the team for that, but and he spent some prime in the pound.
Again, we don't need to get into the careers of failed lefty quarterbacks. All I'm saying is I apologize to the loyal lefties out there for any harm I may have caused. I do not apologize to the lefty quarterbacks out there. Why don't we move on to some of our other predictions, some things that we may or may not have to apologize for there. We each picked a game last week. Me personally, I took the Chargers over the Broncos, and I was completely correct about that. Although it was a close game, and they did need some late scoring and a last-second field goal to do it, but the Chargers are a monolith. They're on a roll. They're winning. They beat the Broncos. I was right.
Yeah, I thought the Chargers looked pretty good against the Broncos. They kind of got out to a bit of a lead. I think it was 20-6 at one point, and then kind of let the Broncos back into it, and then finally had to do a last-second field goal drive to win the game. But again, did what they needed to do. They're 3-0, beat every single team in their division now. They really have a stranglehold on that division. So I think that my playoff pick of the Chargers to win that division is looking pretty good for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Chargers look really good. Najee Harris ripped that Achilles. Hate to see it.
But on the Najee Harris Achilles play, Justin Herbert was a gamer. Jumps over the dude and still fires the pass downfield. I hate to see it. Kind of love to see it.
Yeah, I was a baller play for sure. I do think it's very interesting about the Chargers. Like I was someone that was all in on Lad McConkey like this year for fantasy, redraft, dynasty, whatever. I actually didn't end up getting him in any of my drafts, but I really wanted him in all of my drafts, and he just seems like the third string wide receiver there to Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen, and I think that's pretty interesting. I picked last week the Cowboys Bears, a game that I really wanted to see, both just because we were kind of trying to figure out what the Cowboys were, what the Bears are. And I think this game did teach us some things. The Cowboys are the magical medicine. The Cowboys defense specifically are the magical medicine for any offense. If you need your offense to just be good, to get things on the right track, just go down to Dallas, play the Cowboys in the old AT&T Stadium, and your offense will just be riding on all cylinders, whether you're the Giants, whether you're the Bears. The Eagles couldn't really end up doing that, but that Eagles offense is something else. But Giants, Bears just smoke the Cowboys defense. Their cornerbacks are awful. If only they had a really good pass rusher.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to our defense rankings podcast to hear my thoughts on Micah Parsons, all of our thoughts on Micah Parsons, but my thoughts on Jerry Jones and this Cowboys season in particular. You asked what are the Cowboys? The Cowboys are a dumpster fire. The defense looks like the worst defense in the league. The offense doesn't look that good, and now they're missing CeeDee Lamb for probably at least a couple weeks. It's looking ugly in Dallas. And look, I'm not going to curse anyone, but would anyone be surprised if Jerry Jones just dies halfway through the season?
Wow.
Would that not
Crazy.
would that
Crazy.
not be the most Cowboys thing ever for them to have an absolute trade away Micah Parsons, have an absolute dumpster fire of the season, and then in like mid-December, Jerry Jones dies?
I want to be on the record saying that I do not condone anyone dying in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't
The
matter
man's
who
like
it is.
85.
I
Like,
also do not condone him dying. I do think that would be, unfortunately, a happy day for many Cowboys fans, and I would be very sad watching all the Cowboys fans cheering at another man's death.
I don't wish him death, but it would be very funny if he did die.
Those seem similar.
I don't want anyone specifically to die, but you have to appreciate the dramatic irony.
Lefties and wishing death. Scott
Look,
Weaver on
I'm
Weaver
just
Sports
trying to
Show.
get views. I'm trying to get clicks out here.
This man would do anything for a view.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the Cowboys fans to hate listen to our podcast.
Hide your kids, hide your wives. This man would do anything for a view.
Hide your kids, hide your wives, hide Jerry Jones.
My actual football point about week one is that we can kind of throw week one out a little bit. A lot of these guys aren't playing in the preseason. So if the Eagles offense wasn't firing on all cylinders, frankly, it wasn't firing on all cylinders till the second half of this week's game. Kurt, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I took the game of the week that I wanted to watch is the Rams-Eagles, and it was a pretty good game. The Rams got up, I think it was 20-7 or 26-7 at halftime. Jalen Hurts had 17 passing yards. It was looking pretty bad. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts realized that he actually has receivers that he's allowed to throw the ball to. And it's funny what happens when you let playmakers make plays.
Well, I don't think it's a Jalen Hurts thing. I think it's the offense. The offensive coordinators, including Nick Sirianni, just want to run the ball down people's throats and not turn the ball over at all. So they tell Jalen Hurts, don't turn over the ball, just run the ball, do these conservative plays. And then they're like, oh, that's not working. Okay, Jalen Hurts, do your thing. And Jalen Hurts can actually freaking throw a ball and play quarterback when he's allowed to. But even like late last year, Jalen Hurts made a comment about the offensive coordinator taking him out of the straitjacket for the Commanders game because like he's literally in a straitjacket calling plays. The second half, I think Jalen Hurts audibled out of like 40% of the play calls. I saw some next gen stats or something. So Jalen Hurts called the offense in the second half, and yeah, Jalen Hurts can balls when they let him.
And it's hard to argue with it, really. I mean, the Eagles have been running it down people's throats for a while, and it seems to
Yeah.
work. So, I mean, stick with what works. But if it's not working, I mean, you got the guys to throw some passes as well.
I do really hate watching it though. Just watching, oh, it's 3rd and 15. Here's Saquon Barkley on a running back draw. Fantastic. Let's punt the ball.
Yeah, it's boring, cautious football. They also what could be a bit of a sneaky storyline is Lane Johnson was hurt during this game on a tush push, and he came out. They had a switched in a couple different guards there.
They switched in Matt Pryor, right tackle, which Matt Pryor last year was an incredible guard for the Bears. Every team that he goes to, Matt Pryor plays guard. And I'm not going to criticize Jeff Stelton too much because he's one of the best offensive line coaches of all time. But for some reason, in his mind, Matt Pryor is a tackle. And Matt Pryor is not a tackle. He's not good. He played terrible against Jared Verse. There's all sorts of stats circulating around. They did nothing with Matt Pryor at right tackle. Fred Johnson came in, who was their swing tackle last year, and Fred Johnson, they scored like 21 points on 3 straight drives with Fred Johnson at right tackle because he can actually play tackle.
Yeah, one of the big storylines about that game too, I don't want to forget to mention it, was the 2 blocked kicks by the Eagles. Really, the Rams probably should have won this game with the way they were up, and then they had a last-second field goal to win it. The score really doesn't do it justice. 33-26, looks like the Eagles won by a touchdown. They did, but only because Jordan Davis, the big 350-pound man, decides to block a kick and run it back for a touchdown to end the game. Now, I know some people who bet the game -1.5. If he just blocks that kick and falls on it, they don't get the cover. So thanks to Jordan Davis for getting the cover on that game. But the Eagles might be in trouble if they keep playing that way.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are a little bit like last year's Chiefs, where they can win boring conservative games, but we saw in the second half of this game, they also have the playmakers and the potential that last year's Chiefs didn't have. They can go down, they can throw the ball to AJ Brown, make big plays, get explosive passing plays, as well as the explosive 40-yard runs that Saquon was. It was kind of Saquon's signature last year. So we'll see if that continues in the future.
Yeah. I think another underrated storyline of this game is Sean McVay is very conservative sometimes. There was quite a few like 4th and 2 opportunities where he just took the field goal and when he could have gone for it. And Josh Riccardi kicked 4 field goals in this game, and then he had 2 blocked. So he went for 6 field goals in this game, and they had a lot of short drives where they just could have pushed it, taken points, tried to get more points. And against an Eagles team that has that amount of talent, I think you have to try to just get more points against them.
Yeah, I mean, field goals and blocked field goals were really a major storyline around the NFL this week. There was obviously that last second blocked field goal in the Eagles game that won it for them. They blocked another field goal earlier in the Rams game. Within a 5-minute span of real time, the Eagles blocked that kick. The Browns beat the Packers, blocking a kick against them and then getting a last second field goal to win. And the Jets blocked a field goal against the Buccaneers and ran it back for a touchdown. Aaron Glenn did a fantastic dance on the sidelines, and then the Jets lost the game anyways. Like, field goals all around the league. We're going in, we're getting blocked, we're all over the place. Pretty exciting week all around.
Yeah,
Are there any?
it was an interesting week of games for sure. There were some games that were pretty big surprises. I mean, the Browns beating the Packers. I don't know how many people had that on their bingo card. I talked about, I was feeling pretty good about my Packers Super Bowl pick. Well, that's the Jordan Love that you can get that you worry about
Yep.
that is not going to take them to the Super Bowl.
I think that people maybe just saw the Browns as kind of like, oh, they're a crappy team. They've got no quarterback. Their skill players all suck, which may be true. But we're forgetting the Browns defense is still legit. Myles Garrett is still, if not the best defensive player in the year in the league, at least top 3.
Oh, he's the best. He's a
Yeah.
top 3 defensive player of the last 15 years with J.J. Watt in his prime and Aaron Donald.
Yeah. So he's an incredible player, and they've got the talent, they've got the coaches there to still keep it tough and tight against nearly any team. Obviously, they got blown out against the Ravens, but if it's the right situation, the right scheme, the Browns can still make a close game out of a game that a lot of people thought should not be.
Yeah. Other than that, there was a lot of blowouts this week. The Vikings blew out the Bengals. Colts really took care of the Titans. Commanders took it to the Raiders. The Seahawks beat the Saints pretty bad. But then there were some close games as well. One game that I did want to touch on, it was a blowout. Panthers 30, Falcons 0. Scott talked about Michael Penix earlier. The thing that I thought was crazy, I didn't watch any of this game, so maybe I'm overstating it, but the Panthers were outgained by the Falcons by 100 yards. The Panthers only had 200 and I think 20 something total yards and scored 30 points, and the Falcons had over 300 yards and scored 0. The Panthers, that score, again, I didn't watch the game. I know there was some turnovers, but not that many, and there was a few special teams plays, but still 30-0. I think that's a little bit misleading. I'm guessing that's really not how the game probably looked.
Yeah, just having like that amount of talent on offense that the Falcons have, like you have Michael Penix is an 8th overall pick. You have Bijan Robinson, I believe, is an 8th overall pick. Drake London, I believe, is an 8th overall pick. Kyle Pitts was a 4th overall pick. Just to have that amount of talent on offense and to put up 0 points against that Panthers team, it's going to be a tough year for Falcons fans.
Part of it is that the final score is a little bit deceptive. Like I did mention earlier, the Falcons, they had a new kicker last week, Parker Romo. They cut Younghoe Koo, who is one of my favorite players, just for the novelty of a Korean kicker. And then immediately Parker Romo missed his first 2 kicks that were pretty easy, both like 40 to 50 yarders that a lot of field goal kickers are making these days. So it could have easily been 30-6. I did watch some of the game. The Panthers defense, pass defense specifically, is kind of sneaky okay. So, I don't think the final score is actually reflective of the disparity between these two teams, but they definitely did outplay the Falcons, at least defensively, and Michael Penix just looked kind of out of sorts all through the game.
Well, if we think the Panthers might be sneaky good, I mean, they looked a little bit better at the end of the Cardinals game, looked a little bit better in this game. Do you know who they have on deck? They have
Kurt,
a
I was
team
hoping
who's
that
1-2.
I was hoping we wouldn't talk about the New England Patriots because that is looking like a brutal prediction. The Patriots fumbled 4 balls away to the Steelers. They really almost outplayed the Steelers, but they gave up some short fields and ended up losing 21-14 against the Steelers. And you are correct. They play the Panthers next in what should be an easy game and could end up
Or the
being an ugly
Panthers.
one. Yeah, it could be.
An easy game for the Panthers. But we're going to each talk about a week 4 matchup we're interested in and kind of give our pick for the game. So, Scott, what's your pick?
Yeah, so talking about 1 and 2 teams meeting, we have the Ravens and the Chiefs, and I don't think anybody was looking ahead at the season and thinking that both of these teams would be 1 and 2 coming into this matchup. The Ravens got beat down by the Lions. Their signature for a long time has been their defense. Obviously, the last few years, Lamar Jackson's been an MVP quarterback. He's running all over the place. They've got Derrick Henry. Their offense still looks good. Against the Lions this past week, they scored 30 points and they gave up 38. They have been the worst run defense this season. And so I think the Chiefs have the opportunity to run all over them. Not that the Chiefs have a strong rushing attack. It
Yeah.
could be an interesting game. I
Weakness versus weakness.
Yeah. So at least one of these teams is going to walk away 1-3. And that means that since both of their divisions are tight, and there's no team that's not won a game yet in both those divisions, that means they will be tied at least for last place in the division, if not last place outright. And I think that is going to be the Chiefs. I think the Ravens are going to win this game.
I think it's funny. Running backs seem to age in different ways, and I guess the way that Derrick Henry has decided to age is just fumbling the ball. He can still run with the best of them, but apparently he just fumbles now.
I saw a stat that Derrick Henry had fumbled like 3 times in his previous 600 rushing attempts or, 60 games or whatever it was, some ridiculous number, and 3 times won in every game this season.
Yep.
So, which team would you guys say that you're more concerned about of the two of them, the Ravens and the Chiefs? Both of them, I think there's a little bit of reason for concern, honestly.
I think that so here's my thought. I think that the Chiefs, you can kind of make a better argument for, okay, Rashee Rice is suspended, Xavier Worthy has had a dislocated shoulder or whatever. Like they're gonna get some pieces back. Andy Reid is still there. The defense is still pretty good. So I think you can make a better argument for the Chiefs have the opportunity to turn things around. It hasn't looked good, and, they might not make the playoffs or they might make the playoffs as a wild card. That would be pretty surprising. The Ravens, I don't know. I mean, that defense just they look like they're getting beat on both sides of the offensive and the defensive line. Lamar was sacked like 7 times, which is the most times he's ever been sacked in his career. I might be pulling a little bit of the panic button, pushing the panic button for the Ravens.
See, I think I would say I'm less concerned about the Ravens. The 3 games that they've lost, or sorry, the 3 games that they've played, they beat the Browns pretty good. They really had it in the bag against the Bills and let it slip away. And then they,
Man,
you know,
that's their storybook though. That's what they do.
it is for sure. And then they lost to a pretty good Lions team as well. I still think they're a good team. And I think the thing too is at the beginning of the year, we probably wouldn't have said this, but I think the AFC North is probably a weaker division than that AFC West. Joe Burrow injured. The Bengals are going to be not as good. The Steelers don't look maybe as good as we thought they'd be at the beginning of the year. The Browns, the Ravens have already beat them once. I don't think they have to worry about them too much. The Chiefs have to worry about what looks like a really good Chargers team, the Broncos, the Raiders, who have been looking a little sneaky good. I think I'd be a little bit more worried about the Chiefs in their division.
Yeah, I'm also would definitely be worried about the Chiefs. 2 close losses to the Bills and the Lions really doesn't do much for me. Yeah, you'd lose some of those games. You hope you don't lose both of them, but sometimes you do. So, Kurt, what's your pick for this week?
Yeah, the game that I wanted to choose this week, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Indianapolis Colts, my favorite team, against the Los Angeles Rams. I think it could be a really good game. The Los Angeles Rams, if I had to pick a second favorite team, it's probably them. So I'm pretty excited to watch this game. I had Matthew Stafford for MVP at the beginning of the year. We'll see how he looks in this game. I like Sean McVay as a coach. I think it could be fun. The Colts offenses look pretty good. The Rams offenses look pretty good as well. I think it'll be a good game to watch. I think it'll be a pretty close game. I still don't know how much I trust the Colts. I don't know if I'll ever trust the Colts this year and Daniel Jones. So I think I'm going to pick the Rams in this one. But I do have a little insider info that I received on Daniel Jones from
Oh boy.
a former Giants player. Says that Daniel Jones was a little bit of a partier when he was in New York. He seems like a little bit of a quiet guy, but he could get out on the town a little bit. And now that he's moved to Indianapolis, a little smaller Midwest town, maybe he's settled down. He got the big contract in New York, and he had too much money and too many ways to spend it in the big city. Now that he's in Indianapolis, a lot quieter, he can settle down, live that Midwest life that he was meant to live, being just a young boy from Charlotte, North Carolina. I think he's more meant for the small town Indianapolis feel, not the Big Apple of New York City. So maybe he is where he needs to be, and maybe he'll be playing a lot better.
You told us about this earlier, and the thing that was most surprising to me is that you're getting texts from former Giants players?
Friend of a friend.
Huh. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, that's a storyline with a lot of guys is, oh, can they take the pressure of New York and Sam Darnold playing for the Jets? Oh, he's seeing ghosts. His coach is a maniac. I don't know. I mean, New York is a big city. The New York media is a different animal. I don't know. Maybe it affects guys. I know I've heard about, well, guys go to Green Bay and there's literally nothing to do there except play football. So they lock in, and that's why the Packers have nothing but great quarterbacks, because they exile these guys out to Wisconsin and they sit on the bench for 3 years and they've got nothing to do but study football and watch other great quarterbacks backs play football. So I can see it helping, but I don't know if that's the reason that he's good this year.
Yeah, I think this is like the first, I think, real test for the Colts. I mean, they blew out the Dolphins. We know the Dolphins are certified cheeks. The Broncos have a pretty good defense, but Bo Nix hasn't really looked the same this year. Then they kind of blew out the Titans a little bit again, certified cheeks. So the Rams, 2-1 with barely lost to the 3-0 Eagles. I think the Rams will give a pretty good test for the Colts here.
Yeah,
But
and that Broncos game, aside from Bo Nix not looking that great, they needed a last-second leverage penalty, the kick getting called back and everything. So they could have easily and probably honestly should have lost that game. Dolphins and Titans were legit wins, but we kind of expected those goes
certified cheeks.
to be wins going into the season. So Rams, they've got the Raiders and the Cardinals next, and I think those are more mid-tier teams that will be interesting to see how competitive they are against as well.
Do they get to blow out the Patriots this year? No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, that's an easy
No.
win. So
Don't.
No, they do play the Steelers. They get another lefty in the Falcons.
Easy
Easy
win against the
win.
lefty.
Easy win against the lefties.
Oh man.
Just put more lefties on the schedule.
Yeah. Get some more lefty quarterbacks in the NFL here. I'm gonna also Kurt picks his Colts game to watch, and I'm gonna be watching the Eagles Buccaneers. And I'm actually going to be picking against my Eagles for the Buccaneers in this game. The Eagles cannot beat the Buccaneers. In their last 5 matchups, they beat them 1 time, and it was just a meaningless September game. The rest of the games, 2 times in the playoffs, they've lost to the Buccaneers. Lost 4 out of the last 5, and most of the time it hasn't really even been that close. Last year, the Buccaneers just absolutely lit them up on offense. The defense couldn't do anything. The offense couldn't do anything. It was like 21-0, if I remember correctly, right off the bat. The Eagles just cannot beat Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers. I'm going to be picking the Buccaneers in this one. I would love if the Eagles won, but I just think the Eagles have barely squeaked by in 3 games this year. I think they're due for a loss, and it comes with their favorite team to lose against in the Buccaneers.
I think that you are kind of just picking like who you want. You're picking like a hedge pick against your team, because I think this Eagles team is way better than these Bucks. I think that, I mean, let me just read you the injury reports. Tristan Wirfs is still questionable. Levante David questionable, has a knee injury. We've got like offensive tackle Mike Evans hurt his hamstring and isn't practicing. He's doubtful for this week. Chris Godwin's is maybe coming back this week. Egbuka is not all 100%. Baker Mayfield is a limited participant in today's practice, Wednesday, September 24th, due to a right biceps injury. It's not something I love to see about a quarterback. Like, this team has multiple offensive linemen on injured reserve. They've got wide receivers on injured reserve. They're just kind of dragging themselves to every game. So I would be very surprised if the Eagles don't beat these Buccaneers, and pretty handily, frankly.
I do agree. The Bucks injury report is a reason for concern for sure. Baker might have a bicep injury just from flexing on him too hard. I don't really know.
Somebody.
But if Chris Godwin comes back, Tristan Wirfs comes back, they might be okay. That being said, I do think that in this game, the injuries are probably enough. The Bucks have been squeaking out some wins. Like we said, just squeak one out against the Jets, squeak one out the week before against the Texans, really squeaked one out in week 1 against the Falcons too. They haven't really won convincingly yet. So I think
And-
this is the time their 3-0 season comes to, or their undefeated season comes to an end, and they go to 3-1. I think I'd take the Eagles.
None of those teams are that good. Like the Falcons are pretty mid. The Texans have an atrocious offense. And the Jets are like, they made the Jets look quite good. And I don't think the Jets have been that good with Tyrod Taylor, frankly. Like, I just don't see it. So if you are correct and they beat the Eagles, maybe miracles do happen and Baker Mayfield is a magic man. But
I've just seen the Eagles lose to the Bucks so many times, just repeatedly. They just can't beat it. Something about Todd Bowles' blitz schemes. Jalen Hurts gets in a tizzy. Like it just happens every single time, pretty much. I actually thought they hadn't won against the Buccaneers in the last like 5 years, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, they're actually 1-4. That's not as bad as I thought.
it's a different Eagles team. It's a different Bucks team.
Sometimes you just have your NFL kryptonite, and the NFL kryptonite for the Eagles is the Buccaneers.
Yeah. So those are the games that we are watching this week. Obviously, there's some other interesting games coming up. The Chargers are playing the Giants, and it's going to be Jackson Dart's first start, kind of throwing the rookie to the wolves there against a Chargers team that we talked about being a strong defensive team, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, the Packers play the Cowboys, a reunion game for Micah Parsons. Again, I don't want to say it. Is Micah Parsons going to sack Dak Prescott so hard he gives Jerry Jones a heart attack? Anything could happen.
Wow.
Anything could happen on that field.
Micah Parsons actually said he's up. He doesn't want to sack Dak. He said something like, "It's going to be hard sacking Dak Prescott."
I will believe it when I see it. I'm thinking that man gets face planted a half dozen times.
I will say on the Jackson Dart thing, I think it's a little bit of a tough time to put him in there. I mean, he's got the Chargers, which are a good defense. Maybe they could have
Yeah.
waited a week. They got the Saints coming up next. But even if they waited till then, they go Philadelphia Eagles, Denver Broncos, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers. He's going to be playing some really good defenses.
Yeah.
He's going to have a tough time here. I don't know if there is a good point in the schedule to put Jackson Dart in, but I don't know
Yeah,
if now's the time.
That's the problem. Like, there's not a good point in this Giants schedule. They play the 49ers, they play the Bears, but then they get the Packers and the Lions, Patriots. Like, but by that point, we're in December. If you want any hope of salvaging your season or salvaging, frankly, Brian Dable's job, it's not by that point. You got to get this rookie in earlier, and he's got to show some flashes. Otherwise, this whole thing is just going to be clean house. Joe Shane's out of there. Brian Dable's out of there. It might be just Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors and who knows what else.
Yeah, having the first NFL start to say, "Hey, buddy, have fun with Jesse Minter," like that's a tough go. I do also think with every Daniel Jones win, Brian Dable just gets a little bit more nervous. He's like, "Oh boy, this is not looking good on me." I know how upsetting it was for John Mara to see Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles and tear it up, and I'm sure he's feeling something similar with Daniel Jones. He's like, "I paid this guy $1 bajillion, and he didn't do anything for me, and now he's ripping it up with the Colts. I'm going to take it all out on Brian Daboll."
It is very funny that Saquon leaves the Giants and immediately goes to the Eagles and wins the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones leaves the Giants the next year, goes to the Colts. Are they winning the Super Bowl?
Undefeated,
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
17-0.
I mean, the Eagles weren't 17-0, but you know, the 14-3 Colts making it to the Super Bowl. Crazier things have happened.
Not many. Not many.
To close this podcast this week, I wanted to do a little bit of a look back at some of the crazy things we may have said earlier in the preseason or early in the season. We made some predictions for awards, for division winners, for all kinds of things. And I think that in the interest of fairness, we need to give ourselves a little grace and a mulligan. So if we want to, we can each change one of our predictions. Personally, I picked Joe Burrow to be the MVP. With his injury, that's just not going to happen. I mean, the storyline, the team was all around him. It was ready, but it's not going to be his season.
I have a hypothetical scenario. Okay.
All right, let's hear the Joe Burrow MVP case.
Okay. Jake Browning takes this team to a 6-7 record. How many touchdowns would Joe Burrow have to throw in the last 4 games of the season to win MVP? I say 32.
32 touchdowns. So that's what, like 8 a
8,
game?
8 per game.
I still don't think he
Again,
would do
it's
it.
not going to happen, but I'm just wondering, how many touchdowns do you think that Joe Burrow has to throw for in the last 4 games of the season for him to get MVP, take the Bengals to the playoffs?
I think Joe Burrow would have to come back after like 5-6 weeks. Like it would have to be a miraculous turf toe recovery.
Last
So
4
he's
games. How many
playing,
touchdowns?
and I don't think he's doing it in 4 games, but I think that maybe if he plays 8 games, so he's playing even that's not even half the season. But if he plays 8 games and he threw 45 total touchdowns, something ridiculous, maybe, but I just don't see it.
I'm honestly not sure that there is a number for 4 games. I just don't think that they would give an MVP award no matter how many touchdowns he threw. He could just throw 20
I don't
touchdowns
know.
a game for 4 games.
I think if he threw 80 touchdowns over 4 games, that boy would have MVP. So I think there is a line.
I think that he would win Comeback Player of the Year. I think they would give him Comeback Player of the Year in back-to-back years over MVP.
He came back from his comeback.
Yeah. Instead, though, I am going to pick another quarterback who we've touched on a little bit. He is playing very well right now. His team looks like it could win the division and maybe even, be a top seed, maybe make the Super Bowl. They're currently undefeated. I am picking Justin Herbert as my new MVP pick. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, with that team, I think we're all pretty high on the Chargers. It doesn't seem like there's like a clear favorite right now. Yeah, I would maybe go Jalen Hurts. He's not going to have the counting stats, but just if the Eagles do really, really well, it probably is just Jalen Hurts.
Josh Allen and Lamar are the current MVP favorites.
Yeah.
Allen has the better odds, but I just think there's just voter fatigue. They don't want to give
Yeah.
to the same guy 2 years in a row unless something really exceptional happens. So if the Bills just kind of waltz to a 15-2 record or 16-1 or something, maybe it happens. If they're 17-0, for sure they'll give it to Allen. But if the Chargers look really good, they're passing more than any other team right now. Total reversal of the Greg Roman typical offense. I think it's really lining up to be Justin Herbert's season, and he has definitely got the talent. So if he stays healthy and this team keeps rolling, I don't see why it couldn't be his year. Brett, do you think you'd like to use a mulligan, or maybe you want to save it for later?
Yeah, I will be using a mulligan on CJ Stroud for MVP at some point in this year. I just don't know if I have a pick yet. Like I said, like Jalen Hurts might be my pick right now, but he's just not going to get the counting stats. It's going to be really tough for him to win that award. So I'm going to wait a few weeks and we'll feel it out. But yeah, CJ Stroud is not winning that MVP. That's for sure.
Kurt, how about you?
Yeah, well, I told you guys last week that I was all the way out on one of my picks. It's pretty easy to choose which one because all the rest of them were so good. But the one pick that was so bad was J.J. McCarthy for Comeback Player of the Year. We did say we're not really sure what he's coming back from, but if they're going to put him on the board, I'm going to bet it. But in hindsight, not the move. He is way down the board now, so I'm going to choose a guy who has made his way up the board. We were just talking about how bad that team might be, but how bad they might be on defense. It's Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, as we have said before, is going to have to throw the ball all over the yard. if he can put up some points and the Cowboys can maybe look decent enough, I don't think they need to make the playoffs. But if they can have a decent, respectable record and Dak Prescott can put up some huge stats just with the way he has to throw the ball, with the way that defense is going to give up points, I think he might be able to do enough to get the NFL Comeback Player of the Year this year. So I'm going with Dak Prescott instead of my boy JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pick. Speaking of picks that you got all your picks right, I've been thinking about something over the first 3 weeks of the season that I really just want to flesh out right now. What is the one player that you had on pretty much every fantasy team, Kurt? One player in about maybe the 9th round or so that he always just fell to you and you always just wanted to pick him.
Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah. I said I was on record saying that I would take Kareem Hunt over Isaiah Pacheco. And that might not have been fleshed out, but yeah, Isaiah Pacheco is just not the move. I don't have him on any of my teams. He's been not good. He's been splitting backfield work. Yeah, I was all out on Isaiah Pacheco, and that was a swing and a miss for your boy.
Yeah, I thought that he would take over more backfield work than he has for sure. I did think there was a chance they'd be splitting it, but the bigger thing is I just didn't realize the Chiefs' run game was going to be so terrible. Like, if they were at least a competent running team, he might have some value, but that's just not the case.
What is he averaging right now? It is awful.
I liked Pacheco. I've only got him on one team. I think that the underlying analytics and the numbers were there. If he was coming back to his role that he had at the start of last year or in 2023, then yeah, for sure, he was a great value at where he was being picked. Unfortunately, that's not what we've seen for the 3 games. I got to remind you, Brett, it's a long season. Fantasy football is not won or lost in 3 weeks. Things can always change. Like I talked about earlier, this Chiefs offense is not anywhere near its final form. So we'll see. Maybe somebody gets hurt. Maybe somebody, when Rashee Rice comes back from injury, they can get the pass game going a little bit more. They can get the run game clicking. Josh Simmons can continue to play better. Like, there's still a lot of moving pieces. So I don't think I can be all out on Pacheco just yet.
I've been all out.
I do like your Dak Prescott pick. I think the real comeback player of the year, Kurt, is someone that we've already talked about, and that is Indiana Jones. No party for Daniel, but he gets to go to the awards party at the end of the year, and he's going to be living it up there.
That man's turning into a pumpkin. Might be before Halloween. We'll see.
I know Daniel Jones, and he's going to turn into a pumpkin. I just don't know when.
I guess we'll see. That would be my pick right now, but I'm not going to use my mulligan there. I think that I got to use it on Joe Burrow.
I will say I do like Shane Steichen for Coach of the Year. I think that's a good pick. I think that the Colts, from the way it's looked and the way they were perceived before the beginning of the year, I think that they can do enough and have a good enough record to get Shane Steichen Coach of the Year. I don't trust Daniel Jones yet. And I'll say, like, I wasn't a big Daniel Jones guy coming out of the draft, but I did think that he was a little bit better than people seem to give him credit for. He was like a walking meme for a little while with all his turnovers and everything. Yeah. So I think he's a little bit better than overall. That. Yeah.
He should just never have been taken 6th overall. I think that really hurt him. If he was the 35th overall pick, which he probably should have been, I don't think anyone really bats an eye at his career path in general. It's pretty decent 35th overall pick,
Yeah, but if we were doing Coach of the Year picks, I think Shane Steichen would be my pick, and I think he's got a good shot at that award for sure.
Yeah, so we'll see if that continues against the Rams this week. That is all for us this week. If you have any questions or if there's something you'd like us to talk about, you can leave us a comment like Cole. You can send us an email at mebroshow@gmail.com. That's mebroshow with 1 S @gmail.com. We're all over the internet, wherever you get your podcasts, and thank you for listening to the Mebros.
If you want to tell us how much you like Jerry Jones and don't want him to die, or just how much you hate Scott for his hate of lefties, hit us up.
Send Jerry Jones good thoughts this week. He might need them.
Thoughts and prayers to Jerry.